Welcome to Howling After Dark. Good stuff for you. Holy shit. So, I'm sure like millions of Americans right now, I've been spending a lot of time listening to various podcasts. And that's kind of what tonight's show is about. On Spotify, there's quite a few that I like. Not all of them are paranormal, though, and I'm not going to get into those. So I'm just doing the paranormal ones for tonight. And there's two in particular that I've gotten into that I really, really like. And one is called True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm just going to read off some of the things that they've covered on their show. I haven't listened to all of these yet, but the few that I have listened to, they, going by my read, I guess you could say, into the topics, they've pretty much nailed it. Let's see, let me go down quite a bit. Hold on one sec here. I'm actually trying to find one in particular. They've covered pretty much every freaking case you can think of, and a few I haven't even heard of. This is the title of one of their podcasts. Will Susan Powell ever be found? Susan Powell disappeared from her home on December 6, 2009. Her husband, Josh Powell, was immediately a suspect, but the police were never able to arrest him for her disappearance. In 2013, he killed himself and their two young children. Susan Powell remains a missing person. And then, let's see. The mysterious death of Henry McCabe. Henry McCabe went clubbing with friends, and after a series of bizarre events, including a pocket dial call to his life where he can be heard screaming and growling, he was never seen alive again. His body was found in a lake 3 months later. That's craziness. And what's really crazy is some of these are things I have never even heard of. But they cover, like, the Dyatlov Pass incident was their first episode. And for those unfamiliar with the Dyatlov Pass incident, it happened back in January of 1959. It was a group of Russian cross-country skiers and explorers took off on the trek of a lifetime, or so they thought. They did not return, and the story of their last days has captivated true crime and paranormal enthusiasts for decades. Actually, I'm going to play an excerpt from this. Oh, one sec. There we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to True Crime Paranormal. I'm Christy, here with my co-host, Katie Weaver.
Hey guys!
Oh, hold on folks, wrong one.
Hey everybody, welcome to True Crime Paranormal. I'm Christy, here with my co-host, Katie Weaver.
Hey guys!
Nice to be here with you all today on this lovely Monday morning, as we like to say, because that's when the show airs.
Right.
And this is show number 3 for us. It's getting kind of starting to get in a groove, I think.
I think so. I know. It's exciting, actually. As soon as the last show is over, I'm digging into our next topic because it's just...
Me too.
Sometimes
I'm
having a
like,
ball
maybe
with
we
this.
should do more than one a week, but I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we should. Yeah,
I wondered about it.
We'll have to wrestle our schedules and see if we can come up the winner.
Exactly.
And
But-
make it happen.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you.
All right, here we go.
This is just going to be great. So they cross 190 miles of their trip is across the North Ural Mountains. This is in western Russia. It is Siberia, and it is almost completely uninhabited. And we'll talk about who does inhabit this place, but it is mostly uninhabited. So what they were going to do is they were going to travel to a point where there was a town. They were going to send a telegram that said, hey, we made it, and then they were going to turn around and go back the way that they had been. So they were, going to let somebody know halfway through that they were okay. So I'm going to tell you the sort of generally accepted version of this story first, and then we will get into some of the other facets of this, because you have to remember, this is Russia in 1959. Okay, this is KGB era. This is everything is classified. This is the Russian government lies about everything kind of era. Like it's a scary time, and it's a time in which it's very difficult to know exactly what's true. But I will tell you the roughly publicly accepted story, and then we'll get into some of the other things. So their last night of their trek was February 1st or 2nd, and they made camp at the foot of what I will call the Mountain of the Dead. I'm not going to attempt all the Russian because I know I'll get it wrong. My Idaho vernacular not working today, and I don't want to respectfully mispronounce everything. So the thing is, when they made camp at the foot of the Mountain of the Dead, is that this isn't where they were supposed to be. They had kind of lost their way due to blizzarding conditions, of course, and they were about 6 miles off course. Now, that night, the temperature was somewhere between minus 30 and minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That is below zero, guys. Now, Katie and I are from Idaho. We are very familiar with below zero weather. We know how unbelievably dangerous it is to go out in minus 30, minus 40 below weather. Like, I cannot imagine being on a cross-country ski trip, staying in a tent in that kind of cold.
No, I mean, when you walk outside in 30 below weather, and we've both done it, instantly your lungs feel a little frozen, your snot freezes in your nose, your eyes freeze, your breath freezes. Like, that is unbelievably cold. My question with that, too, and I don't know if you know, but is that including wind chill or not including wind chill? Do you know?
I believe it is including wind chill. As I understand it, it's including wind chill. Because if it wasn't, it could have been easily 20 or 30 degrees below zero, even more with wind chill.
Because when it's that cold, even a tiny breeze can drop the temperature another 10, 20 degrees. So
as we know, I mean, we've been in sub-zero weather recently, and it might be 1 or 2 degrees above zero, and with wind chill, it's 10 or 12 degrees below zero, and that's just with a light breeze. Yeah. So I do believe that this was with wind chill, although there are a lot of conflicting stories around it exactly. But what we know is it was damn cold, dangerously cold at this point.
Yeah. So kind of cold that schools would be canceled. Where you live, if that happened, schools would be canceled. Workplaces would be canceled. Like, this is the kind of weather that people would be urged to stay home in.
Yeah, locked down. Vehicles don't start. You will freeze. You will get frostbite within just minutes of being outside. Injury from the cold is very, very dangerous and happens very quickly at this temperature. So we know that. At this time, something happens. Now, we're going to get into a lot of different theories about what happens. But ultimately what happens is that all 9 of the people that are still on the expedition at this point, and we're going to tell the story of the 10th who isn't with them at the time later, but all 9 of the individuals on this expedition die. They all die, and they do not make it to their checkpoint. They're supposed to make it to their checkpoint by the 20th of February. They don't get there. Maybe it's the 15th of February, 15th to the 20th, somewhere in there, they were supposed to send that telegram. Well, they don't. So somebody sounds the alarm, and they send out a search party looking for them. It takes them a week to find their camp, to find them at all. So they're out in this way super remote area. It is literally 3 weeks since they have died before they're found. So one of the problems with knowing exactly what happened to them is that 3 weeks of Siberian weather occurred between the time that they died and the time that they were found. And I think that that's a huge factor in having a difficult time knowing exactly what happened. So about a week after they set off, the search party finds the tent that they had set up at the foot of the Mountain of the Dead. The tent is abandoned, and in the pictures that I've seen, it's got quite a bit of snow on it, and it's partially collapsed. One of the things that they find very interestingly, they kind of uncover the tent, they look inside, and all of their snow clothes are in there. Their boots, their coats, all the stuff that you would most definitely be wearing if you were outside in minus 40-degree temperatures are inside the tent. The other thing that they find that is really weird is that there are slits cut in the tent. The tent is literally cut open, like with a knife.
Okay, so I think you can see why I find this so interesting. And they go on to basically relay this whole case. And what's interesting about this show in particular is they tell the story first, regardless of what topic it is. And they've covered everything from this to the Zodiac Killer and beyond. So they'll tell the story first, and then they'll give, like, their psychic impressions, which is kind of cool. So that's one that I've really gotten into lately. Let me see here. The other one that I've really gotten into is called Ghost Town with Jason Horton and Rebecca Lee. Now, keep in mind, I don't know any of these people. I would love to have them on my show or be on their shows, actually. So, hey guys, if you happen to hear this, there you go. Let's see. There's one in particular I'm looking for because it is a location I am incredibly familiar with. Yeah.
A little dress. I am Diane von Furstenberg. This season of my podcast, In Charge with DVN.
He was a New Yorker. He was the 7th of 10 children born on October 5th, 1823.
Hold on. 1 second,
He was pretty
folks.
up in San Diego, California.
I moved from New York to San Diego before I moved.
All right, so just to kind of explain this, it's Jason Horton, Rebecca Lee, or the hosts of this particular podcast called Ghost Town. It's on Spotify. I highly recommend you check it out. Jason, from my understanding, he's like one of those guys that explores like abandoned places. There's like a word for it, and I'm drawing a blank, but You know, like I'm sure everybody's seen like the YouTube videos of people like exploring like abandoned houses and shit. He's not necessarily a paranormal investigator. I think he may have some experiences himself, but Rebecca is actually the paranormal one of the two. And I'm not entirely sure what her background is exactly. All I know is that they mesh well, and you can tell they're really into the history of these places, and the place they're talking about right now is a place I'm extremely familiar with. I used to ghost hunt there back in the day. It's kind of where I got my start, and it's been recognized as the most haunted house in America. And I am talking about, of course, the very haunted Whaley House. So here we go.
To Los Angeles. I lived there for 4 years, 2002 to 2006.
Went there once when my friend, I feel like everyone had like a friend that lives in San Diego for a second, and you go to visit and you're like, oh, what a beach town.
It's like a California starter.
Yeah, it is.
Town.
It's like JV Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Kind of, you get
But San Diego's
berries,
great.
have a couple fish tacos.
I love it. Old
yeah,
town.
It's very fun.
Very historic.
Next to Mexico. Exactly. And very historic in that we're going to be talking about the Whaley House. And it was constructed in 1857 by businessman Thomas Whaley. It's a pretty nondescript two-story brick house, had a lot of uses: granary, community theater, courthouse, and crime scene. It is, according to Life magazine and the Travel Channel's America's Most Haunted, the most haunted house in America. Are you ready?
I lived in San Diego for 4 years, and I don't know. Now, depending on where you tell me it is, I don't know if I've been there. Unfortunately, I hate when I've been somewhere and I'm like, oh, at the time I just wasn't seeking that out.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to. I mean, a lot of listeners have said, "Hey, have you talked about or discussed?" I think we were always like, "Well, we plan on going to San Diego to do comedy or something like that,"
Yeah,
and that never happened. So we never did it. But I think now is we're not going to San Diego anytime soon.
No, we're not leaving the premises anytime soon. So we're gonna take our minds and hearts there to the Whaley House.
And souls.
Souls, your soul.
Yeah.
My soul's gonna stay here and watch some TV.
Okay,
watch
cool.
some HBO Go.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know what to say. So a little bit about Thomas Whaley to start off. He was a New Yorker. He was the 7th of 10 children born on October 5th, 1823. He was a pretty upper middle class kid with a very illustrious family history. The Whaley family immigrated to Plymouth, Massachusetts in 1722. His great-grandfather Alexander was a gunsmith who participated in the Boston Tea Party and the Revolutionary War. Alexander was pretty much a hero when he provided flintlock muskets for soldiers and let General George Washington just stay at his house whenever he wanted. So, pretty important person. Thomas's father, Thomas Whaley Sr., carried on the family gun biz and fought in the War of 1812. Thomas decided to break with the family trajectory, seduced by the West's promise of gold and fortune, and left for California in 1849. Fast forward a couple years, Whaley didn't find gold and ended up working retail up in San Francisco. With his pedigree, I'm sure that felt very glamorous. Whaley had a pretty successful career starting his own store in Northern California, though, but then it burned down and he was looking for another new start. In 1851, Whaley was advised to go to San Diego, where he thought he'd have more success. There he opened a store called Tienda California. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Whaley was so committed to the store's success that he studied Spanish so he could sell goods to the Kumeyaay, a local native people who weren't being served by the businesses there at the time. Whaley went back to New York for to marry Anna Eloise Delaunay in 1853. I couldn't find out much about her except that she was 21 and very French. When the couple got back to San Diego, they were involved in a couple smaller businesses, but most notable was the purchase of the Whaley House in September 1855. Now, the house, or more like the lot, was already famous because in 1852, it had been the site where Yankee Jim Robinson, a famous Wild West bandit, was convicted of attempted grand larceny. He tried to steal a boat. There's a lot of different stories around that. And it was hanged in the gallows, in the lot, on a wagon. Whaley was actually there to witness the hanging, and that did not dissuade him from buying the property. No, it did not. With bricks made in his own backyard, Whaley built and designed a granary meant to hold 300,000 to 400,000 pounds of grain and had an adjoining Greek Revival-style brick residence attached to it. And on August 22nd, 1857, the Whaleys moved on in. Whaley boasted, "My new house, when completed, will be the handsomest, most comfortable, and convenient place in town within 150 miles of here." And it probably was. Pretty roomy, very convenient. Handsome? You got it. Thomas and Anna started building their family and had 6 kids. The oldest, Francis, who was named after one of Whaley's old business partners. Thomas, who died of scarlet fever when he was 1.5. Anna, Amelia, George, the very sensitive Violet. This will factor in later, I promise. And little baby Corinne. After one of the other stores burned down, which again is a theme that is not quite addressed, but seems curious to me, and then Thomas Jr. died, the Whaleys did another short stint in San Francisco, but came back to San Diego on December 12th, 1968. When they were gone, the Whaley House was home to San Diego's first commercial theater, led by Thomas Tanner. The Tanner Play Troupe converted the upstairs family bedroom into a 150-seat theater, but the troupe quickly disbanded after Tanner died just 17 days after the theater opened the business. Fitting 150 people into a master bedroom, that is commitment to the craft.
I have a little news break.
Oh, yeah?
I just looked to see where it was. Whoa.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
That was a curtain that I taped up to make sure that sound didn't get
And it
in my
just
face.
fell when I was about to talk about my truth about the Whaley House.
What? Spill it.
Let's fix it and then we'll go back.
We did not put that... You hear that in here? No curtains will ever go up in this house.
Yeah, the ghosts will not let it. But I have been to the Whaley House.
Oh, you have?
It's where I thought it was, in Old Town,
Uh-huh.
San Diego. I know because it's right near the Old Town Mexican Cafe, which is a great place to eat, and it's been on a lot of cooking shows, and it's really good, authentic
I like that.
Mexican food, and it's in an area that it's like the Mission area,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just one of the earliest settled parts of San Diego, and the Whaley House is there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall, I probably, when I was there, I was like, oh, this is cool and historic, but I didn't really take in any, the haunted parts of it, as if, if we went down now, or
Yeah, we'd be all over it. Yeah, you just didn't know. You were young.
So I was there, and it's been following me this whole time up until we did this episode and made the curtain fall.
Mm-hmm. Then you have been there, or around there. You've been at least eating a burrito next door. And that's all we can really ask for.
And that's the most important part. That's the takeaway
really,
from this.
That's good. If you learn anything, it's that Jason was eating carbs.
He's eating, yeah.
Next door. Anyway, so it was a theater company for a little while, for 17 days, and then it went on to serve as the county courthouse, leased by the city for $65 a month. Then it was a general store. Fast forward to 14 years later, when on January 5th, 1882, Anna, then 24, and Violet, 20, had a joint wedding, which is very adorable and very common at the time. Anna, less adorably, married her first cousin, John T. Whaley, which was pretty uneventful, aside from the whole first cousin thing. Violet wasn't as lucky. She married a con artist named George T. Bertolacci. 2 weeks after their marriage, Violet was on their honeymoon to discover Bertolacci had disappeared. Apparently, he had only married her for the dowry that he presumed to get, and Violet was left completely humiliated. It was not cool at the time for a young Victorian rich girl to be divorced, travel alone, unchaperoned, and be jilted even after her wedding in a very proper marriage context. Violet was shunned by San Diego's high society, which led to some pretty intense depression and humiliation, something she never really recovered from, even after seeing many doctors who tried to help her out with her mental health, which was honestly, good job at the time. But the divorce had just too much trauma for her. On August 18th, 1885, the 22-year-old Violet, staying at the Whaley House, her roommate was her young sister, Corinne. She shot herself in the chest with her dad's pistol while the whole family was in the house, and died. She also left a suicide note which read, "Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled anywhere, out of this world." The suicide note is a passage from The Bridge of Sighs, a poem by Thomas Hood, which is about suicide of a young homeless woman who hated living so much she threw herself off the Waterloo Bridge in London. So pretty on the nose, I would say. Got the message.
So, once again, as you can tell, they're really into the history, and they really do their research on these topics. And I guess the reason I wanted to talk about these is because I didn't know anything about these until recently. I had just been looking around on Spotify for something to hold my interest since, like most Americans, I'm not really, I mean, it's getting better now that they have the vaccines and stuff, but for like this whole past year, basically, if I was either home or I was at work, there was really no going out to anywhere, really. And so I came across these just like yesterday, really, and started listening, and I'm hooked. It's so freaking good. I mean, they're talking about the Whaley House, and of course, I'm going, yeah, that's right. But they've also covered other places that I had only heard of in passing, or didn't know about, or I heard of it but didn't know anything about, and they're coming up with all this history that I didn't even know. I didn't even know. Honestly, I don't know how they get such detailed history. They have to have like an inn at Library Archives of LA or something, because the details they're coming up with are astounding. So yeah, I'm totally into it, and if I have my way, I'm telling you right now, my pack, my tribe, if I have my way, I'm going to be on one of these shows. I will be a special guest on fucking Ghost Town. I'm calling it now. Because I'm going to stalk these people until they put me on their show. Not really, but you know what I mean. So, I mean, picture it. Like, I mean, we could talk about the Whaley House, or we could talk about Preston Castle. We could talk about the myriad of other places that have never been televised. And a lot of the stuff they cover is stuff that hasn't been on the TV shows. And talk about all that stuff, can go get in depth, I'm going to get on this show. I'm either going to get on this show or the Psychic Sisters, Paranormal True Crime, because that is my bread and butter, people. You if you've heard me cover Paranormal True Crime, you know that's my bit. That's like my nugget. I love to get into Paranormal True Crime. And I love the whole ghost town idea of Whaley House obviously isn't like abandoned, because it's a historical and haunted attraction. In that it's a historical house, but they do allow ghost hunts there. At least they used to for a while. But I really I think it would be cool to get on one of these shows and just talk about all this stuff that I know about some of these places. Because I think they're very good, but I think they're just scratching the surface a little bit. If that makes sense. Because neither one of them are psychically gifted, or at least that's what it sounds like. And but they know enough that they're like, yeah, something's going on here. how cool would it be to, like, give them details that coincide with what they already know, but haven't talked about yet. And then, they're like, oh, shit, this dude's for real. Or get on Paranormal True Crime with the Psychic Sisters, because they've talked about the Black Dahlia, and they've talked about the Zodiac Killer. I don't think they are even aware of the fact that, I say the fact, I mean strong suspicion, that Edward Wayne Edwards was responsible for both. And I've covered him before, several times, actually. And I'm not going to do it right now, so don't worry. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk about Edwards. Oh, shit. Well, I do want to say one more thing about him, actually, now that I'm thinking on it. I found his grave. He's actually buried here in Ohio, really close to Columbus. Just a little FYI. It's an unmarked grave, or rather, it is marked, but they're marked with numbers rather than names, because it was a grave for the prison and this insane asylum. So all the graves are numbered. But it wouldn't be too hard, I don't think, to find the correct number. You just have to figure out what that is. Anyways, so yeah, that might be something that we do in the future. We might go and try and find his grave and get him to... I would love to go to his grave, honestly, and get him to admit to the Zodiac killings, to the Black Dahlia, to John Benet Ramsey, and the rest. There is actually, by the way, I don't know if you saw it, there was a show on the Paramount Network called It Was Him. It was the story of his crimes, and it was John H. Cameron, the guy that wrote the book, It Was Him. Edward Wayne Edwards, the serial killer you've never heard of, was the name of the book. And along with him on this trip, basically across the country, going to these different sites, was Edward's grandson, Wayne. So that was pretty interesting stuff. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But, it would be really cool to get on that show and talk about Edwards, or talk about, any of these crimes, really, that I've covered. Like, I would love to get on their show, honestly, and talk about Hester Shue. For those that don't know, Hester Shue was a victim of a murder perpetrated by her husband at the time in the 1800s, and the husband was convicted in court, okay? And the way he was convicted in court was by testimony directly from the spirit of Hester Shue. It is the one and only time in United States court history where testimony from a ghost played a part in the conviction of their killer. Neat little historical fact there. So I'd love to talk about her. I mean, so many subjects and topics and viewpoints that I know I would enjoy sharing. And I'd enjoy hearing theirs, you know. So I'm determined now. I'm going to get on one of these shows. I'm telling you right now. I'm calling it right now. I'm going to get on one of these shows. At least I'm going to try for both of them, but I'm going to get on at least one of them. I promise you, I'm going to get on one of these shows. And when I do, you will be the first to know. About 5 minutes left. Wow, that went quick. So, yeah, I've been looking into all these shows, all these podcasts. By the way, if anybody out there knows of another podcast in like this like genre, I guess you could say, feel free to message me on Facebook, because I'm all about it. Or if you want me to be a guest on your show. I mean, I've have 30 years of paranormal investigation under my belt. I've been a clairvoyant since the age of 5, and I am a practicing Blackfoot medicine man. So if that sounds like something interesting to have on a podcast, feel free to reach out to me. I'm GhostWolfJ on Facebook. So there you have it. And for those that have listened to me for a long time, my pack, my tribe, love you guys. Really. So much appreciation for you. You have no idea. Especially, you know, these days, because without you, I wouldn't do this podcast or any of my podcasts, and without my podcast, I probably would have lost my mind by now. So thank you. And I think that's going to about wrap it up, folks. Until next time, my pack, my tribe, peace out.